Alright, it's the next day here. I wanted to take some videos and talk a little bit about the condition the bike is in now and what all I need to do to get it running. I decided to bring the bike in the garage because I have a lot of neighbors outside and be a little better audio quality in here anyway. But I guess I should probably start with the good before I start talking about the bad and the ugly. For starters, this is a 1967 Yamaha YR1. There are a few main reasons specifically that I wanted a Yamaha YR1. The YR1 has a 350cc parallel twin two-stroke engine. Two-stroke street bikes are particularly rare. It's more common to find a two-stroke engine in like a dual sport or a dirt bike. I do want to make a video specifically about the history of two-stroke street bikes. And then I would also like to make a video specifically about the history of the Yamaha YR1, which is what this is. One of the things that you always have to worry about when buying an older bike is often if people do not empty out the gas tank when they let the bike sit, then the gas that's in there will actually start to corrode the inside of the fuel tank. On this particular bike, this fuel tank is in excellent condition. In addition to the fuel tank, most of what you see on this bike is original, even if you do see that some parts are missing. Some of the parts I do have sitting on the table over here, and we can look at specifically what I have and what needs to be done in order for them to be installed. But just about everything that you see here is original. So the seat is original, even the leather on the seat, which is a good thing. It makes it a very valuable seat, but it may need a little bit of extra care to keep it looking nice. You can see where there is a small, I don't even know if I'd say maybe it's a hairline crack, a little spider webbing going on there. But if I can, I would like to keep that seat original. Like I said, the fuel tank is original. Gauge cluster is original and relatively low mileage, particularly for the age, but these two-stroke engines are, you do typically get almost twice as much wear on the engine in a certain amount of miles on a two-stroke as you do for a four-stroke, especially because with a two-stroke you're getting twice as many combustion cycles per rotation of the engine as compared to a four-stroke. Obviously, due to the age of these bikes, they are particularly rare, particularly due to the amount of these bikes that were used in racing. Many of the bikes have just fallen apart or been crashed, broken, are in a state of disrepair. So at this point, there are very few left in the United States. So specifically talking about this bike and what it needs in order to be running again, there's no fuel in the tank because there's a leak in the petcock. And the petcock is a strange name for the on-off fuel valve. This is leaking, we believe, just directly from the petcock, although I'd like to double check and make sure it's not just a hose or anything of that nature. When I was at the previous owner's house, we were using pre-mixed fuel and we were able to get the bike started. Obviously with a two-stroke, you have gas and oil mixed together in order to lubricate the pistons and all of the other workings of the engine. As we sat there and tried to get the bike running, it was a pretty significant leak of gas coming out of the petcock. So I believe I have a rebuild kit for that petcock, but even if I don't have that in my pile of parts, I believe they only cost like $11, $12 to get. Also, you can see here the battery has been removed from the bike. So obviously after I clean up the petcock and get the new O-rings and everything in there to get the leak to stop, I would have to obviously reinstall the battery and then use pre-mixed gas and oil for this bike to start up. The reason that we've been using pre-mixed gas and oil to get this bike running is because there was Yamaha's auto lubrication system, which was more or less the first of its kind. I believe it was used on a previous bike in 1964, and then this bike was one of the first production bikes to also carry that system into use. Yamaha's auto lubrication system was a system that automatically mixed the oil and the gas before sending it into the carburetors and into the engine. The advantage of the auto lubrication system is you have approximately 9 times that you can fill up the bike with gasoline before you have to add any additional oil, which is a lot more convenient, allows you to travel further without carrying a bunch of pre-mixed gas and oil with you all the time. However, before the owner that I bought the bike from didn't trust this auto lubrication system, and he preferred to use only pre-mixed oil and gas, and that's why those components were removed from the bike. The previous owner did still have, I believe, all of the parts necessary in order to get that system running again. So in the future, once I get this bike on the road, I would really like to have that system working properly. It is also kickstart only. There's no electric start for this bike. This bike did come with drum brakes in the front and in the rear. The front actually has 2 sets of brake drums, and the rear has a single set of brake drums. Today, brake discs are considered superior to brake drums, and any vehicle that has brake drums is assumed to have poor braking performance. However, and I don't know if this is partly due to the weight of the bike, but people who rode the bike, who wrote about their experiences, said that the brakes on this bike particularly are extremely sensitive and very good. There were some claims that the brakes were actually too powerful, although the rebuttal for that concern about the brakes being too good is that people should just learn how to not, apply too much brake. One of my other major concerns for the bike is this clutch. The clutch lever itself is extremely firm, and whenever we had gotten the bike running and then the owner put the bike in gear, the bike actually stalled because even though he had the clutch depressed about this far, or maybe it was the whole way, the clutch was still engaged with the engine, which obviously power is being put down, and then the bike stalled because we didn't add enough gas to get it going. So I need to figure out why the clutch did that, whether it's just an adjustment issue or if there's any other particular issue with the clutch, and then obviously I'd like to resolve that before I start riding the bike anywhere. The bike also does not have the cover on either side. I should say that the covers are not installed because we do have the covers. So I have to double check which cover goes on which side, but we do have both covers. The bike also came with this cover, which I believe may be the original for the bike, although it's obviously in a little bit worse condition than this one. On the topic of covers, we also have this cover here, which goes over the ignition system. So it's a points ignition system, and this cover goes here. I have to find the correct bolts for that and bolt that back into place. There are also several other parts that do need to be installed. This is a passenger peg. This one, I believe, would go right here. I have to back that bolt out, set this in there, and then reinstall that bolt. But like you see on this side, this passenger peg can flip up or it can go down. I'm not sure if this would be a stationary peg or if that would also have the ability to flip up and down, because I don't see any mechanism on here that would allow it to flip. Also, maybe I should have mentioned this a little earlier on, but the reason that I have these taped over is when we were traveling, I did not want these badges to come off. I know these can be pretty expensive to replace, and I'd like to keep the originals here. I do plan on pulling that off here just in a second, and hopefully I can repair that and keep it original, but if not, I'll probably want to replace that with new badges. So I did go ahead there and uninstall both of the badges and reinstall this cover here. This air filter could also be either replaced or cleaned out, but for now it's not as bad as it could be. There was no mouse nest or anything ridiculous like that in there. And I do like how these little clips just kind of hold the cover in place There's no tool needed for that even, which is nice. All right, and lastly, I was able to get the two side covers on even without the additional components for the auto lubrication system. Please also consider subscribing. If you do, you'll be able to watch any future videos that I have for this bike, including projects, and also be on the lookout as I get this thing running and start making point of view videos, riding it around. Thank you. Have a great one.